Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and here I am to look back at my favourite comics of October. This is my monthly instalment where I look back at the previous month's comics, pick out my favourite ones and my top 5 favourite comics, and then take a look at 5 other ones that, I want to have a little chat about. October was incredibly difficult to pick for. I don't know whether it's that it's coming towards the end of the year and everyone's kind of, winding down, getting all their really great, exciting stuff ready for the new year. But it was difficult to find some really great comics for this month. But I eventually whittled it down to my top 5 favourites. My number 1 comic of October won by a landslide. It was an amazing issue. Stick it out till the very end to find out what that was and why I enjoyed it so much. But this is the big stack comics, all the comics that I picked up in October. This basically just looks like a normal week for Travis of Oddfellows Thoughts, but these are all the comics that I bought over October, and this cost me enough, so God knows how Travis is affording it, but well done you. I'd love to be able to, but I just can't. Let's crack on with my first favourite of October. And I'm starting my favourites of October with issue number 3 of Kill or Be Killed. Yes, we've got Ed Brubaker's latest dark noir tale, and we delve more into the damaged lives of our 2 kind of main protagonists that we've met so far with Dylan and Kira. Dylan here is coming to terms with his first killing, his first real conscious killing that we saw at the end of last issue's fantastic issue, and we have him basically trying to avoid all these thoughts that are going around in his head, his feelings that he's going to get caught out. He can't talk about this with anyone. He kind of avoiding his housemate that he's desperately in love with, and also dealing with these kind of demonic nightmares that he's having at the same time. And then we switch to kind of Kira, who we learn a lot of her kind of childhood that was filled with this kind of voyeuristic sex and drugs and alcohol, courtesy of her mother, a damaged character in herself. And the way these 2 broken people come together, and this almost romance that is beginning with them, despite the fact that Kira is already with someone. She just seems to want to follow this path of tragedy. This is just a great mix of like a thriller, a kind of screwed up romance, but a romance nonetheless, and then this kind of psychological car crash of all these genres, but it works so well together, and coupled with kind of like this gorgeous cinematic look and feel from both Sean Phillips and Elizabeth Breitweiser. Once again, they never fail, this kind of super team of Image and kind of indie creators, just bringing another bang up job on another dark noir tale that I just can't get enough of. Our welcome and fresh return to Monstrous, our kind of fantasy, cyberpunk, anthropomorphic universe. And Marjorie Liu, our writer here, starts on her next arc, taking us what looks like to be an adventure on the high seas. She's still keeping those really kind of dark fantasy elements. We have this scene of like kind of 3-tailed cats performing this black magical incantation, while adding more mystery, more mythology to this land, and also of course introducing all these very exotic looking characters. I know that fans of both fantasy and kind of with a manga type twist should really give this a try and get a real great kick out of it, but the artwork here by Sana Takeda is another joy to see. It's put so much detail into the landscapes, into the characters, making them fully formed and realised people, despite the fact that, you know, that these are anthropomorphic characters for the most part. But it's one of those stories that, while the solicitations have been quite sporadic, that once you go back into that land, it's so immersive and so detailed that you can't help but love it. It's kind of like welcoming back an old friend, despite how young this title is really right now. But I'm loving this. I'm loving the fantasy element, loving all these myriad of characters that we get to meet along the way, with this dark mythology and mystery behind it as well. Well worth a pick up. I'm sure the first 6 issues are already in trade, so dip into that. Image like to put out there like cheap trades, so it might be worth a go to see if you like it, but at a cheap price, and then continue on with these singles. Moving on to Image's sci-fi trip that they love doing. This is Jeff Lemire's Descender, and Lemire has been doing these kind of standalone stories of late, and yeah, for the past few issues now, where he's kind of layering the history of these characters, but at the same time moving each of these characters' storylines forward to where they are at the present day. It gives them a reason to be the way they are, which a lot of comics, especially from the big two, don't really deal with. They just kind of present you with the here and now and don't give you that much history of why they are like they are, and that's what I love about Descender and the work that Jeff Lemire is doing on this. And it's here in issue 16 of Descender that Lemire turns to this character on the front. It's Driller, and despite this story being largely about machines, cold, mechanical, I won't say inanimate, because obviously they move around, but you know, this steel, it's a thing. Lemire manages to pack this issue with a great deal of emotion and feelings, not only for this character, but a character that's short-lived, unfortunately, but his fellow worker Scoops. As we see Scoops and Driller, they're doing their job basically. Driller is being a driller, and Scoops is scooping up all the debris behind, doing it on this mining town that we met right back in the first issue, when we met Tim 21 in this kind of deserted mining colony. And we kind of drop in all the way through of how Scoops and Driller are coping with this, which is a weird thing to say for a machine. And we see them kind of indulging in these kind of secret late night conversations when they're finally getting to take a break from trying to keep up with the demands of their human masters. And it's almost kind of like philosophical conversations that these two are having, and it just amps up the emotion and then the tragedy about what happens at the end of this. And in typical Lemire style, what he's been doing in these issues, it brings us right bang up to date for where these characters are now and who they are with. Again, Dustin Nguyen just doing fantastic work on this book. Very, very different feel to that of what you would expect from a sci-fi book, but just loving the whole style and atmosphere that both these creators bring to this title. My only single mainstream comic in my top 5 came from Marvel this month, Silver Surfer issue number 7. Now, sometimes I do feel that this run of Silver Surfer and the one that preceded it gets a little too quirky for its own good. There's kind of this thing with the creative team at the moment that they get just a little touch too self-indulgent with their imagination, and that's a great thing to have, this far-spanning imagination, but sometimes you can take it too far. I'm not keen on the fact that Silver Surfer's board kind of has this personality of its own now, but throwing in puppy bunny kitten planets, trampoline worlds, planets that grow cotton candy on trees, it all just gets a bit cutesy. And you would think, why the hell, Mark, is this in one of your top 5 favourites? Well, at least what comes out of this is a fun, solid story that appears to be kind of having consequences for future storylines and future issues, as while Silver Surfer takes her to this kind of gambling world to show her some danger, and their lives are at stake, and their beings of them, you know, what makes them them is kind of being stripped away as they gamble more and more. At the top of this book and at the bottom of this book, we kind of see a mysterious onlooker who's telling the reader these kind of tidings of doom for the future for these two characters. But at the end of the day, this book, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's kooky, and it's colourful comic amid all this darkness and kind of evil, conspiracy-ridden noir tales that are very prevalent in comic books at the moment. So it's nice to have that bright, shining light there with Dan Slott and the Allreds bringing something different, a different flavour to our comic book reading. Now, before I hit you with my favourite comic of October, here are 5 comics that I'm just going to briefly talk about because I just thought they were interesting and worth noting. I'm going to begin with an annual of all things, not usually my favourite form of comic books, but Punisher issue 1 with co-creator Conway, bringing us this tale of Frank Castle, very much old school style, as he is being followed by a cop who wants to take down his father's killer. It's strange because I think there's more style and panache to this book than the regular series, which has the same kind of over-the-top violence, but I think it's just done better in this annual. Maybe it's the art style of the book, of the mainstay book, that just doesn't work for me, or that the violence is much more over the top and, dare I say, silly. In the main book, this seems a lot more real and true to Frank Castle's character and the way he acts, and I just got a real kick of this one and done annual story that really pushes, you know, what Punisher's all about, that, you know, he will take the brunt of the darkness and the violence so other people don't have to. Ody-c from Image. It's Christian Ward. This is issue number 12. Christian Ward rules this title of kind of gender-bending Greek tragedy in space. His artwork is just gorgeous. I could just gaze into these pages for hours on end. There is so much detail, so much clever paneling and pacing to this book. And while Fraction plays around with the kind of the meter and the rhyme and the tone of those literary classics like Homer's Odyssey, mixing the kind of murder, the sex and the subterfuge, for this I just be happy with no words and just look at Christian Ward's beautiful, beautiful art. DC get a little spot in this video. It's Wonder Woman issue number 8. This cleverly links in actually to issue 9, as Rucker gives us kind of the backstory of Barbara Minerva before she was Cheetah, as she takes on this kind of archaeologist role in that Indiana Jones mould, as she goes hunting for evidence and proof of the Amazons and where they live, Themyscira. I really got a kick out of this, and like I said, in the past I've been a bit hesitant about the way this book has been kind of doubling down with, you know, the main present day story and then hitting us with the kind of an origin story. But this, for the first time, linked very well with the next issue, and I appreciated this comic much, much more for that. A new issue 1 from Image. It's Mark Millar and Greg Capullo's Reborn, and this was a right brain scratcher. This had me wondering what the hell was going on with every page turn. Was it kind of a present day story about real life, or was it a fantasy book? Was it a sci-fi book? But I got a big kick out of not knowing, giving these little teasers, trying to find the links between all this seemingly disparate storylines, coupled with Greg Capullo's great artwork. This was a good book. It wasn't great, which is why it didn't make my top 5, but I'm very intrigued and very interested to find out where this book will go next. My final of my 5 to chat about is Black Widow issue number 7, and I do feel Wade and Samney are doing something very different here than they did with Daredevil, but at the same time they are making attempts to revitalise Black Widow as more of an A-lister character like they did with Daredevil. We all know Black Widow, you know, she's not pure as the driven snow. She has this dark history, and we are certainly discovering a dark past that has ramifications here in the present day as we learn of her kind of assassin days as a young girl, and the people that she's come across, or maybe she didn't actually meet them, but they were definitely affected by the way she conducted herself as a young assassin. It's hit, she doesn't realise this yet, but it's going to hit her hard when this secret comes to light. Great stuff. Samney's artwork on this is always exciting and interesting to look at, playing around with panel work, the way he keeps the story going in a very kind of pushing it kinetically forward so we don't lose interest, adding touches of humour in there as well. Black Widow is shaping up to be a great book. Okay, thank goodness for this last book, because it was up and beyond anything else that I read in October. No other book touched this, not even my favourite Deadly Class. So you know it's not Deadly Class. It is Jonathan Hickman's Black Monday Murders issue 3. Wow, Hickman went dark with this issue. Very, very dark. It's just oozing with this atmosphere and tension that it's literally one of those, it's like watching a movie and being on the edge of your seat thinking, this can't get any worse, this can't get much darker. And it's so clever because it's a thick book, it's a pricey book, and this whole issue was predominantly a police interview with murderer Oresco, who is part of this kind of dark cabal that's running the financial affairs of America and, you know, probably the world. I mean, everyone loves a good conspiracy story, and when it's coupled with kind of governments and financial bodies, it makes it even the more interesting, especially when you kind of got this back matter that is based on fact, and then you throw in this, like I said, demonic supernatural twist. This just gets my juices going, my blood boiling. It's just a fantastic read. The way Hickman gradually ramps up the stakes and the tension on just this issue alone is genius. We get this dark and gritty kind of police procedural template that we're all used to, is kind of the good cop, bad cop type of deal, but with this extra layer of this kind of demonic language and mystery and mythology behind it, culminating in this kind of violent and bloody climax. Wow, I was left breathless at the end of this. Now, you may notice I'm not talking a lot about the storyline in this because, quite frankly, I want you to go out and buy these issues and just experience this for yourself, because I know you will not be let down by this. Tom Coker, with his art style, these dark, shadowy rooms, just exude this tension, this darkness, and I'm scared for all these characters. I don't know where this book is going to go, and that excites me so much more. And people, you need to buy this. It was the best thing that came out in October. Hands down, you will not persuade me against any other book. Go buy it now. Okay folks, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. This is now October over with. We're on to November. Let's hope that that has got some more exciting books, as exciting as Black Monday Murders was, that really kind of get me excited and passionate about reading comic books, because it was a strange one this October. Thank you all for watching and getting this far. If you are new here and you don't want to miss out on any more videos, give this that red button down here somewhere, hit it so you won't miss out. Give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and in the comments section down below, do you agree with my favourite book of October? Did you in fact read it? And if not, why not? Do it! Forget about the price, it's worth it. Thank you very, very much for watching. I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye bye.